There are many ways to measure length through simple process to the precise one. In this volume, we'll go through each and rest on other as it is very lengthy. So let us start. Before starting my video, I request you to view through it last, and if you are not understanding it, pause the video for its every content. I hope you will like it, share, comment and subscribe it. May this video will enrich your knowledge, skills and experiences and many more. Measurement of length. The order of distances varies from 10 to power minus 14 meter, that is in bracket radius of nucleus, to 10 to power 25 meter, radius of the universe. The distances ranging from 10 to power minus 5 meter to 10 to power 2 meter can be measured by direct methods. The direct method involves comparison of the distance or length to be measured with the chosen standard of length. A meter rod can be used to measure distances as small as 10 to power minus 3 meter, that is in bracket 1 millimeter. A vernier caliper up to 10 to power minus 4 meter, while a screw gauge for distances up to 10 to power minus 5 meter. The atomic and astronomical distances cannot be measured by direct method. For such measurements, indirect methods have to be used. Now, first of all, I am going for the indirect methods for large distances. For measuring large distances from a few hundred meters to those of astronomical objects, the following indirect methods may be used. Now, the number one is echo or the reflection method. This method may be used to find the distance of a hill. To do so, a gun is fired towards the hill, and the time interval between the instant of firing the gun and the instant of hearing the echo of the gun shot is noted. Obviously, in this time interval, sound has traveled from the observer to the hill and then back to the observer. If small v is the velocity of sound and capital S is the distance of hill from the observer and small t the total time taken, then small v into small t equals to 2 capital S, or S equal to small v into small t by 2. This is equation number 1. Now, a laser is a source of very intense monochromatic and unidirectional beam. By making use of laser beam in place of sound waves, the echo method is used to measure the distance of the moon from the earth. If small t is the time taken by the laser beam, laser is written in capital LASER. This is short form. Or in abbreviated form, laser beam in place of sound waves, the echo method is used to measure the distance of the moon from the earth. If small t is the time taken by the laser beam in going to the returning from the moon, the distance of the moon from the earth is given by capital S equals to capital C into capital S equals to smaller c into smaller t divided by 2. Here c equals to 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second is the velocity of the laser beam. The echo method has a wide range of application. It is used to find the thickness of a matter sheet. It also serves as the basic principle of radar and sonar. Now, number 2, to find the thickness of a matter sheet. To measure the thickness small d of a matter sheet as given in this figure, a probe wave, that is a signal in bracket a pulse or of radio waves bracket close, is sent from point A, capital A, on the front surface of the sheet to the back surface. The signal gets reflected from the point capital O on the back surface and is received at point capital B on the front surface. If small t is the time interval between the instants the signal was sent from the point capital A, and when received at capital B, the thickness of the sheet small d equals to small c into small t by 2. Here c is the velocity, small c is the velocity of the signal. It may be pointed out that as the thickness of the matter sheet is very small, the value of small t will also be very small. Therefore, the time recorder should be such that it can measure very small time intervals. Now, number 3, sound navigation and ringing, that is called sonar. Sorry, I said laser has an abbreviated, it is laser only, not an abbreviation. No. Sound navigation and ringing, this is abbreviated as sonar. A sonar uses ultrasonic waves to detect and locate rocks, submarines, etc. submerged underwater. The ultrasonic from a transmitter are sent through the ocean. If the rock or the submarine comes in the path of ultrasonics, then they are reflected back. Nothing, the time interval between the instants the ultrasonic moves are sent and then receive the distance of the rock or the submarine can be computed. Again, the distance of a submerged rock or a submarine can be found by using the formula capital S equals to small b into small t by 2, where small v is the velocity of ultrasound waves in water. The principle of sonar is also made use of knowing the flaws in the structure of a material. It also helps in mechanical testing of material without damaging it. For this, I have given in LDT chapter non-destructive test in aircraft maintenance technology instructions videos. Now, number 4 is radio detection and ringing, that is called radar. Radio waves are sent into space from a transmitter. In case an aeroplane comes in their path, they are reflected back and detected by a detector. Knowing that the velocity of radio waves is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, and measuring the time interval between the instant of transmission of the waves and their detection, the distance of the aeroplane can be computed. A sophisticated radar can tell the distance as well as the speed and elevation of the aeroplane. Now, number 5, to find height of a distant object by a triangulation method. The height of a distant object such as a tower AB may be found by measuring the angle the tower makes at the observation point capital P. Say, let theta be the angle subtended by the tower at point capital P. It is called elevation of the tower at point P. Let us see the figure. Let the distance of point P, capital P, from the foot of the tower, that is PA, both are capital, equals to small x. Then in right angle triangle PAB, these are all capitals as we have seen the figure. Tan theta equals to AB upon PA equals to h, small h upon small x, or small h equals to x tan theta. This is the equation number 2. Knowing x and theta, the height h of the tower can be found. Sometimes it is not possible to measure distance between the object and the observation point. For example, a tree on the opposite bank of a river. Such an object is called an inaccessible object. Let AB be an inaccessible object. Its elevation theta 1 is measured at point P, and then elevation theta 2 at some other point Q at a known distance PQ equals to small x, say, along the same straight line. From right angle triangle, PAB tan theta 1 equals to AB upon PA, which is equals to H upon PA, or PA equals to H cot theta 1. Similarly, from the right angle triangle QAB, QA equals to H cot theta 2. This is equation number 4. Earlier was 3. PA equals to H cot theta 1 was equation number 3, and this is equation number 4. Subtracting the equation 3 from equation number 4, we have H cot theta 2 minus H cot theta 1 equals to QA minus PA equals to PQ equals to X, or H equals to X by cot theta 2 minus cot theta 1. This is equation number 5. Knowing theta 1, theta 2 and X, the height of H of the inaccessible object can be found. Now number 6. To measure size of an astronomical object. Let moon be the astronomical object whose diameter AB equals to D, say, is to be measured for this from point E on the surface of the Earth. A telescope is focused on the surface of the moon and its disk image is observed as shown in figure. The image may not be clear because it's somehow torn. The book is not in good condition. Now the angle AEB equals to theta, subtended by the two ends A and B of the diameter of the moon at point E on the surface of the Earth is measured. Let S be the distance of the moon from the surface of the Earth. To a good approximation, the diameter AB of the moon can be considered as a circular arc of radius S. Therefore, theta equals to length of the arc by radius. Therefore, arc AB by S is similarly equals to D by S, or D equals to S theta. This is equation number 6. Knowing S and theta, the diameter of the moon can be found. It will be noted that the above formula will hold only if S is very large, so that the diameter D can be considered as a small arc of radius S. For this reason, this method applies to the distant astronomical object. Note: the angle subtended by the two diametrically opposite ends of the moon at a point on the Earth is called an angular diameter of the moon. Therefore, in equation 6, angle theta gives angular diameter of the moon and its value is about 0.5 degree. Now number 7. To measure distance of an astronomical object by a parallax method. Let us first of all know the meaning of parallax. Consider an object O at a distance S from our two eyes. Suppose that the lines joining the object to the left eye, capital L, and the right eye, capital R, subtend an angle theta as shown in figure. The angle theta is called parallax angle or parallactic angle, and the distance LR equals to small b, say, is called basis. Taking the distance LR as a circular arc of radius S, we have theta equals to LR arc by S, which is similar to b upon small b upon capital S, or S equals to small b upon theta. Knowing b and theta, the distance of the object can be found. However, in case of an astronomical object such as a moon or even a nearby star, the angle theta will be extremely small. It is because of this reason that the distance of the astronomical object is extremely large and the basis is very small, and as a result the parallax angle is too small to be measured. Therefore, instead of taking the distance between the two eyes as the basis, the distance between the points E1 and E2 on the surface of the earth is taken as the basis. Let the distance E1 E2 be equal to small b and s be the distance of the astronomical object O from E1 or E2. Taking the distance E1 E2 as a circular arc of radius s, the parallax angle theta is given by theta equals to arc E1 E2 by s, which is similar to which is congruent to b upon s, or s equals to b upon theta. This is equation number 7. It may be pointed out that parallax angle can be measured only if we observe the object O simultaneously from points E1 and E2 on the earth, which however is not possible. For this, we select a very distant star, O dash, not shown in the figure. It will appear vertically overhead at different points on the surface of the earth. At point E1 on earth, the angle between the direction of the distant star O dash and the astronomical object O, that is O dash E1 theta, O dash E1 O equals to phi 1 is measured. Similarly, at point E2 on the surface of the earth, angle O dash E2 O equals to phi 2 is measured. Then parallax angle theta equals to phi 1 plus phi 2. By making use of the equation 7, the distance of the astronomical objects can be found. The distance of a planet by applying Kepler's third law. According to Kepler's third law, alpha q equals to t square, which is constant when a semi-major axis of the orbit of a plane and t is the period of revolution. If A1 and A2 are semi-major axes of the two planes, 1 and 2 and T1 and T2 are the respective periods of the revolution, then A1 cube by T square equals to A2 cube by T2 cube. That is A2 equals to T2 by T1 over 2 by 3 under root by multiplied by A1. This is equation number A1. The planets are assumed to be circular, then A1 and A2 are respect radii of the circular orbits. Knowing the radius of the orbit of planet, that is A1, and the periods of the revolution T1 and T2 of the two planets, the radius of the orbit of the planet can be found. Now, number 9, the distance of a planet by Copernicus method. The distance of inferior planets from the Earth or from the Sun can be easily found by Copernicus method by making the assumption that planetary orbits are circular. Such distances can be measured by measuring the angle between the directions of observation from the Earth to the Sun and Earth to the planet. This angle is called planet's elongation. The inferior planet P and Earth E revolves in a circular orbit around the Sun S, as shown in the figure. The distance of Earth from the Sun, that is ES, is denoted by R ES, and distance of planet from the Earth, that is P, is denoted by RPE, whereas RPS and RES are fixed distances. The value of distance RPE keeps on changing during the orbital motion of the planet and the Earth around the Sun. Also, the planet's elongation, that is angle PES, keeps on changing. The planet's elongation will be maximum when the angle subtended by the Sun and the Earth and the planet is 90 degree. Let E be the maximum values of planet elongation. Then from the right angle triangle EPS, we have sin E equals to PS upon ES, that is equals to RPS by 1 AU. If the distance of the planet from the Sun, that is RPS, is also in AU, then the above equation gives sin E equals to RPS. This is equation number 9. Therefore, the planet elongation E can be calculated. Also from the right angle triangle EPS, we have cos E equals to PE upon ES, which is equals to RP by 1 AU, or RP equals to cos E. This is equation number 10. Substituting the value of planet elongation obtained from equation 9, the value of distance of the planet from the Earth, that is RP in astronomical unit, can be calculated. Now, indirect methods for small distance. An electron microscope can be used to measure distances of atomic orders, that is 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Let us study the following two methods for measuring distance of this order. Avogadro's hypothesis. Number 1. The atoms are spherical in shape. When a large number of atoms are put together, the empty spaces are left between them. According to Avogadro's hypothesis, the actual volume occupied by the atoms is 1 gram of substance, is 2/3 of the whole volume occupied by 1 gram of the substance. Consider a sample of a substance whose mass is small m and its volume is V. If m is its molecular weight and n is its Avogadro's number, then number of atoms in the given sample equals to n by m into small m, which is equals to small m into capital N by capital M. Now let small r be the radius of each atom, then actual volume of the atom in the given sample equals to small m into capital M n by capital M into 4 by 3 pi r cube. According to Avogadro's hypothesis, small m into capital N by capital M into 4 by 3 pi r cube equals to 2 by 3 V. Also, if rho is the density of the substance, then rho equals to small m upon capital V, or capital V equals to small m upon rho. Small m into capital N by capital M into 4 by 3 pi r cube equals to 2m by 3 rho, or r equals to m by 2 pi n rho 1 cube root. Thus the radius of an atom, this is equation number 11. Thus the radius of an atom of the substance can be calculated. Now how we will calculate this molecule of a liquid? This number 2. It is sample method for finding the size of the molecule of a liquid. The molecular size of an oleic acid can be found easily as its molecules are quite large in size. A solution of known concentration of oleic acid is alcohol is prepared. To prepare a solution of 1 by 500 concentration, say 1 centimeter cube of oleic acid is dissolved in 500 centimeter cube of alcohol. Suppose that n drops of this solution are poured on the surface of water contained in a flat and broad vessel. The film of oleic acid solution is stressed on the water surface carefully. With the passage of time, alcohol will evaporate and only oleic acid will be left behind. The area A of the film of folic acid is carefully measured by using a tracing paper and a graph paper. If V is the volume of a drop of folic acid solution, then volume of folic acid in n drops of the solution equals to NV into 1 by 500. If small t is the thickness of the film of folic acid of the surface area A, then A into small t, the A is here capital, equals to small l into small v into 1 by 500, or t equals to n into v by 500 A. This is equation number 12. If we assume that the film of folic acid was stressed so that it has the thickness of one molecule, then the equation number 12 gives the diameter of the molecule of folic acid. Now there is an order of magnitude of mass. Now we have discussed the length. Now I am going to discuss about the mass. The masses of the objects of interest to us also have a wide range of values. The following tables give the order of magnitude from the mass of an electron to the mass of the inverse. The topic of measurement of length. Length is a fundamental physical quantity. We have read this. The devices generally used in the laboratory for measuring the length of a body are meter scale, vernier caliper, screw gauge and spherometer. The value of the marked division on meter scale is 1 millimeter. It can be used for measuring length with an accuracy of 1 millimeter. So the least count of a meter scale is 1 millimeter. When we have to measure length accuracy up to 1 by 10th or 1 by 100th of a millimeter, the following instruments are used. First is vernier caliper, then second is screw gauge, and third is spherometer. These measures about 1/10 of or 1 by 100th of a millimeter. I will be going for the inches also later on. These takes measure in inches of thousandth and of an inches and these all things, especially for the vernier calipers and screw gauge. Now meter, it is the distance between the two parallel lines marked on a platinum iridium rod preserved at a constant temperature of 273.16 Kelvin and pressure 1 bar in the International Bar of Weights and Measures at Severs near Paris in France. Since 1969, the standard meter is defined as the distance which contains 1650-763.73 wavelengths of wavelengths of orange red light of krypton 86, that is atomic number 86 and atomic number 36 krypton, source kept at the temperature of triple point of nitrogen, which is 63.18 Kelvin at pressure 0.125 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square. Now meter scale. It is a wooden or steel scale and is the simplest instrument used in laboratory for measuring small lengths. The smallest division made on this meter scale is 1 millimeter, and the length measured is accurate only up to 1 millimeter. The following important precautions must be observed by the students to avoid certain errors which are caused due to the use of scale in wrong manner. The edge of the scale should be kept along the length of the object. Inclined scale gives more length. Now to one edge of the object in bracket whose length is being measured bracket close should coincide with a fixed mark on the scale. Number 3, use of zero mark on scales should be avoided because the edge of the scale is generally worn out. Number 4, the reading should be taken keeping one eye one eye closed and the other eye directly over the mark, reading with an inclined eye with the wrong due to error of parallax. Number 5, without disturbing the object and the meter scale, eye is moved to other edge the object and its reading it's taken on scale. Difference on the readings of the two edges on scale gives the length of the object. These are also created as layout and this comes under layout and measuring tools. Layout and measuring devices are precision tools. They are exactly measured, accurately marked, and in many cases are made up of very delicate parts. Where using these tools, be careful not to drop, bend or scratch them. The finished product will be so more accurate than the measurements of the layout. Therefore, it is very important to understand how to read, use and care for these tools. Now, as we said, scale or rules. Rules are made of steel and are either rigid or flexible. The flexible steel rule will bend, but it should not be bent intentionally, as it may be broken rather easily. In aircraft work, the unit of measure most commonly used in the inch is the inch. The inch may be divided into smaller parts by means of either common or decimal fraction divisions. The fractional divisions for an inch are found by dividing the inch into equal parts, that is halves, that is 1/2, quarters 1/4, eighths 1/8, 16th 1/16, 30 seconds 1/32 and 64 1/64 as shown in figure. The fraction of an inch may be expressed in decimals called decimal equivalents of an inch. For example, 1/8 inch is expressed as 0.0125, that is 125 10,000ths of an inch. Rules are manufactured in two basic styles: those divided or marked in common fractions, and those divided or marked in decimal or division of 1/100th of an inch. A rule may be used either as a measuring tool or as it straight edge. Now, steel rules are found in almost all tools, just in both 6-inch and 12-inch lengths. They are used for sheet metal layout and for making measurements where the accuracy of a vernier or a micrometer caliper is not needed. These scales are made of either tempered carbon steel or of satin finished stainless steel. They may be graduated in either the fraction or the decimal, as I discussed system of English measurements, or in metric measurement, with some scales having graduation in both systems. Fractionally graduated scales usually have one scale divided in increments of 1 by 32 inch and the other in 1 by 64 inch increments. Decimal scales have one scale in tenths or fifteenths of an inch and the other scale to increments of 1 by 100th inch. Metric variations are in centimeters and millimeters. Scales are available in both the flexible form about 0.015 inch thick and the rigid form with a thickness of about 0.040 inch. The hook rule is a special form of scale that is useful to measure the dimensions of a part having a radius on its edge. The inside of the hook is exactly in line with the end of the rule. One of the most important steps in the manufacture of an product is accurate measurement. The progress of mankind through the ages have been directly connected with the development of better way to measure. A wide range of measuring tools and devices have been designed which make it possible for the skilled craftsman to measure and lay out workpieces to extremely high accuracy in the aerospace industries. For example, certain instruments parts may be dimensional with tolerances specified in millionths of an inch. Other industries may allow lower accuracy, requiring measurements in the thousands, 10,000s, or even 60,000 of an inch. The degree of accuracy usually depends upon the type of product being manufactured and the manner in which it must function. It would be costly and inefficient to require extremely fine measurements when a part could function satisfactorily at a lesser degree of accuracy. Machinists and tool makers use many tools for measuring and laying out work. Some are quite simple and inexpensive. Others are more intricate and expensive. Most are used for linear or straight line measurement. This volume of measurement of length I am giving you. See here, length is not only measured here, depth and thickness as well as height is also measured. So here I am giving some basic things, that is order of magnitude of length. Sometimes it is sufficient to know the order of the magnitude of a quantity instead of knowing its absolute value. For this, if a number is less than 5, it is taken as 1, and if it lies between 5 and 10, it is taken as 10. For example, the velocity of light is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. However, the order of magnitude of the velocity of light is regarded as 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Here 3 has been regarded as 1 as it is less than 5. Again, number of second is 1. Minutes is 60 or 6 into 10. The order of magnitude of seconds is a minute is taken as 10 to the power 2. Here has been regarded as 10 as it is greater than 5. In this inverse, the various objects have lengths over a wide range. The following table give order of magnitude of their lengths, that is from the size of the nucleus to the size of the inverse. Question is, why is the knowledge of fraction and decimal necessary when using measuring tools? Before a student can read a rule or any of the precision measuring tools efficiently, you must be thoroughly familiar with common fractions and decimals. Fraction. Tool makers and other skilled workers are often called upon to change decimal numbers to common fractions and common fractions to decimals in making measurements and in reading and checking blueprints and sketches. To change a fraction to a decimal, it is convenient to use a decimal equivalent chart, but if a chart is not available, the method is to divide the numerator of the fraction by the denominator. For example, in changing 3 by 16 to a decimal, divide 3 by 16, which equals to 0.183575. These all I have given in the mathematics video also. You can go through that. Precision measuring tools such as micrometers and vernier tools are read in thousands and even in fractions points of a thousandths of an inch. For example, 1 by 8, this is equals to 0.125, is read as 125 thousandths, while 1 by 16, 0.0625 is read as 62 and 1/2 thousandths. 1 by 32, 0.03125 is read as 31 and 1/4 thousandths, and so forth. It will be noted that these readings gives the full decimal values for the corresponding common fractions. However, because the precision tools commonly used in the shop cannot be read closer than 1/10 of 1/1000, it is customary for a mechanic to use only those figures up to and including the 4th decimal place. For example, the complete decimal value of 164 is 0.015625, which in the shop is commonly read as 15 and 6/10 thousandths, being the whole number of thousands, while 6 is 6/10 of 1/1000, or a fractional part of a thousandth. Now the figure which I am giving you, it contains the decimal equivalents of the fractions most frequently used in the shop. They should be memorized. The most common measuring tool is a steel rule. There are many varieties in the shop rules and often improperly referred to as scales. Use of this term steel rule is proper and recommended strongly. Comes what are steel rules? Steel rules are measuring tools that depend largely on the user's ability to read and line up the subdivisions marked on the rule. They are not intended by accuracy in terms of thousandths of an inch. With practice over a period of time, an able machinist can measure within 3 to 5 thousandths of an inch. Steel rules are one of the most widely used measuring tools for such work as laying out, checking stock sizes, and setting dividers and calipers. Lines called graduations, which are inscribed on the face of the rule. Subdivide the inches into fractional or decimal parts of an inch. I am giving the figure to see. Several types of steel rules are generally available to suit the preferences of individual machinists. Now, why is it sometimes better to make measurement from an inscribed line rather than from the end of a rule? It is very much important. See, when a steel rule is new, the ends are square and accurate. After considerable use, the ends become worn and even rounded, and it is good practice to make measurement from the 1 inch line or from some other major graduation such as the half inch or quarter inch line as shown in the figure. Question arises, are all rules graduated with the same division of an inch? No. Some rules have 4 sets of graduations, one on each edge. Many combinations are available. Manufacturers have standard combinations which are identified by a number from 1 to 12 as shown in the figure. Number 4 is the most popular with 8ths and 16th of one side and 32nds and 64th on the other side. Now describe a standard steel rule. The most common steel rule used in a tool room is made by a tempered steel about 3 by 64 inches thick, 1 by 16 inches wide and 6 inches long, and number 4 graduations. The same style may be obtained in lengths from 1 to 144 inches and in a choice of graduations. The graduations sometimes inscribed on the end of the rule are handy for measuring a narrow space. When reading a rule, it is sometimes convenient to read either way from some large dimensions line. For instance, in measuring what is 7 by 64 inches, it is easier to find 1 by 16, 48 by 64 and subtract 1 by 64 from it, then to count the division from the end of the rule. Now, as I said earlier, there are different types of steel rule. Now there is a flexible steel rule. Flexible steel rule is made of tempered spring steel about 1 by 64 inch thick, half inch wide and 6 inch long. It is available in many graduations, number 3 and 4 being most popular. It is also available in other lengths. This type of rule is for general use and for measuring curve work. Now, what is narrow rule? Before that, I have not given the figure, but I will give the figure with this only. narrow rules also. Now a narrow rule is made of tempered steel about 3 by 64 inches thick, 3 by 16 inch wide and 4 to 12 inch long. It has graduation combination number 10 or 11 and is useful for measuring in small openings and spaces. The next is hook rule. A hook rule is shown in this figure as a hook attached to one end, which makes it easy to take measurement from an inside edge when it is not convenient to see the end of the rule. Hook rules are made in many sizes. A narrow hook rule is made for measuring in holes as small as 3 by 8 inches in diameter. A hook rule may also be used for measuring outside dimensions. Now, what is shrink rule? A shrink rule is a tempered steel rule similar in size and appearance. It is standard rule. It has number 4 graduation. It differs from other rules in that the inch markings on the face are slightly longer than actual inches. It is used by pattern makers. Patterns for castings are deliberately made larger than the required castings to allow for the shrinkage of the molten metal as it cools to a solid. If the shrink rule is used, the pattern will automatically be made larger than the actual size of the final casting. Because the amount of shrinkage is not the same for all metals, shrink rules are made from 1 by 16 to 3 by 7 by 16 inches per feet oversize. Next is what is a short rule. A short rule is usually one of a set of small rules made by measuring in small spaces where it is inconvenient to use any other rule. The set of rules consists of a 1 by 16 of a quarter, 1 by 8, 1 by 2, 1 by 1/4, 1 by 16, 3 by 8, half and 3/4 and 1 inch rule. Together with a holder, the rule may be held at any angle. It is secured by turning the nut at the end of the holder. Now the slide caliper rule. What is slide caliper rule? The slide caliper rule is made with a narrow rule that slides inside a groove in the side of a wider rule. It may be used to make internal and external measurements. It is provided with a screw that will lock the slide in place as required. The narrow nibs at the end of the jaws will enter a hole as small as by 8 in diameter. Now the next is rule depth gauge. A rule depth gauge consists of a steel head that has a slot to receive a narrow rule. The rule is held in position by a nut. It is designed to measure the depth of small holes and slots. Now why are some graduation in common fraction of an inch and others in decimal fraction of an inch? Many US manufacturers design their products using common fractions for measurements of parts of an inch. For ordinary measurements, the rule is satisfactory, most mechanics being able to measure accurately as close as 64 inches. When greater accuracy is required, dimensions are specified as decimal figures. Such dimensions are usually given to the third or fourth decimal place, that is 0.375 or 0.5625. Some manufacturers have adopted the decimal system for both ordinary and precision measurements. In this case, the inch is divided into tens, hundreds, and thousands. Measurements made with a rule may be read with accuracy to within 20 thousandths, that is 0.020 of an inch. For this reason, graduations are made in tenths of an inch, 0.100, and in fifteenths, 0.020 of an inch. Now, decimal system is preferred by some because it is simple. There is also little chance of error, as sometimes happens when common fractions have to be changed to decimal fractions for measuring with a precision instrument. In drawing with dimensions specified in the decimal system and a rule graduated in tenths and fifteenths are shown in this figure. Note that ordinary dimensions are either 1 or 2 place decimals, and that second place decimals are even numbers. Now the very important question arises whether the rule is considered to be a precision measuring tool or not. No, the rule and the many measuring tools associated with it are used on the shop for measurements, where a small variation in the size would not spoil the work. The term commonly used for such dimensions is scale dimensions. Scale dimensions are usually permitted to vary from the required size 10 thousandths, that is 0.010 of an inch either way and still pass inspections. Skilled mechanics are able to measure within such limits with a rule. However, a good percentage of measurements made by tool makers are for precision dimensions. The term is used for dimensions where the amount of error permitted is less than 0.010 of an inch and may be as little as 1/10,000th, that is 0.0001 of an inch. Since I am giving you from the various texts, in this text, the measuring tools, the rules and skills, it is given that one of the most important consideration in the manufacture, maintenance or overall of machinery is measurement, and the most commonly used measuring instrument is the rule. A rule is a straight edge piece of material, either steel, wood or plastic. and marked off in units of length bracket as in inches or in centimeters and millimeters. One of the most useful rules is the 6-inch flexible steel rule, which is illustrated in the figure. One side of this rule is graduated in 30 seconds of an inch and 64 of an inch, while the other side is graduated in lengths of an inch and 1/100th of an inch. A good quality rule of this type is most useful in making a wide variety of accurate measurements. Another very useful instrument for taking measurements up to several feet in the flexible steel tape shown in this figure. The flexible steel tape is equipped with a hook on one end so that it will hold to a corner or edge, thus making it possible for the rule to be used by one individual. A scale is generally considered to be a type of rule with markings representing proportional distances. For example, the triangular engineering scale shown in the figure has 6 scales in tenths, 12ths, 13ths, 14ths, 15ths and 16ths of an inch. Such an instrument may be used to scale down a drawing to any desired proportion of an actual measurement. A shrink rule or shrink scale is shown in this figure. The shrink rule is used by tool makers in designing tools which are to be cast in metal. The pattern for the tool must always be made a certain proportion larger than the actual tool, depending upon the metal out of which that tool is to be cast. This is because the metal will shrink a small amount as it solidifies in the cavity of the mold. For this reason, a shrink rule made to conform to the shrinkage of the metal is used in laying out and measuring the dimensions for the pattern, which I have discussed earlier also. Now, how we read a rule? Reading a rule. The first step is reading a rule is to note the value of the graduations of the rule. A careful study of the rule prior to taking measurements will make it possible for the technician to read the measurements quickly and accurately. Figure shows a measurement being taken with a steel rule graduated in 30 seconds of an inch. Examination of the drawing will show that the measurement being taken is 23 by 32 inches. Observe that the measurement is taken from the 1-inch point on the scale rather than from the end of the scale, which would be more difficult to align with the edge of the part to be measured. The method shown is more likely to be accurate than if the measurements is taken from the end of the scale. The reading of a rule is not difficult, however, the mechanic or technician must know the units into which the rule is divided and also know the subdivision of these units. Now figure shows 4 different edges of rules to illustrate given measurements. The rules shown are subdivided into 1/16th of an inch. Rule A shows a measurement of the arrowhead of 3/4 inches. It is 1/4 inches. This could also be read 2/8 inches or 4/16 inches. Rule B shows a measurement of 5/8 inches at the arrowhead. Rule C shows 3/16 inches and Rule D shows 13/16 inches. A decimal rule is shown in this figure. Before that, I have to give the A, B, C rules, which I have not given. The user of this rule should note the fact that the divisions of the inches are in tenths rather than eighths. If a person were not careful, it would be easy to read a measurement as 1 5/8 instead of 1 5/10. Decimal rules are marked with divisions as small as 1/100 of an inches. To obtain accurate measurements with a rule or scale, the reading should be taken very carefully, and the rule or scale should be kept in good condition. A rule should not be thrown into a box with other tools, because in this way it may become scratched, nicked, or otherwise damaged, and also it may become so dirty and worn that it is not possible to read these scales accurately. A steel scale should be kept clean and dry, and from time to time should be wiped with a cloth and a light oil. Scale or rules from another text. Steel scales or steel rules are found in almost all tool chests in both 6 inches and 12-inch lengths. They are used for sheet metal layout and for making measurements where the accuracy of a vernier or a micrometer caliper is not needed. The scales are made of either tempered carbon steel or satin finished stainless steel. They may be graduated in either the fraction or the decimal system of English measurement or in metric measurement, with some scales having graduation in both systems. Fractionally graduated scales usually have one scale divided in increments of 1/32 inch and the other in 1/64 inch increments. Decimal scales have one scale in tenths or fifteenths of an inch and the other scale in increments of 1/100 of an inch. Metric graduations are in centimeters and millimeters. Scales are available in both the flexible form about 0.015 inch thick and the rigid form with a thickness of about 0.040 inch. The hook rule is a special form of scale that is useful to measure the dimensions of a part having a radius of it on its edge. The inside of the hook is exactly in line with the end of the rule. Here in this video I am not giving you the whole thing about the measurements. Here only the rules are discussed and the measurements of length, that is smaller length and higher length, are given. That is either by indirect method or direct method. Later on I will be giving for combination sets, micrometer caliper, vernier caliper, spherometer, and the new gauges such as gear, tooth vernier, vernier bevel protector, depth gauge, and different types of gauges, gauge blocks, and other measuring devices. Telescopic gauge, small hole gauge, and inside micrometer depth gauge, dial indicator, and so on.